Hello and welcome to an in-depth guide to the RSL Autoclicker, currently with the first version. So what is it doing? We have so-called listeners. Each listener has itself triggers and events. Whenever all of those triggers are active, the events will be launched. Let's see this in an example. We add a listener and let's call it Mikage because she has currently her turn. And now we can add with Control and T at the position of the mouse a trigger. So this would trigger, this listener would be active if at this position that is now configured, the very same pixel is observed. So what the listener will always do, it will look at the triggers, and it could have more. So it could, for example, add here another listener, another trigger, and then as soon as I start the program, it will continually observe the pixels at these positions, and if those match their configuration, it will launch the event. For example, with the passive, we could indicate whether Mikage has currently her turn. It's pretty rare that two champions have the exact same pixel value at the very same position. So this could be our criteria that Mikage has a turn, and this pixel value could be the criteria that the A3 is actually ready. Because otherwise there's this cooldown thingy above and the pixel color is not actually the same. Those, if we misclicked, we can also modify those and add, just as we would with Control T, add another pixel, another trigger. We can modify the existing one. And of course, if we don't need it, we can also remove it. Alright, so what events could we possibly launch? We could select a certain skill, for example A1 to until A4, that just corresponds to a key in the virtual legends. For example, with V we can with W we can select the A2, with E we can select the A3 without using the mouse. And we can also press auto 2 times so that it will just perform the auto skill it would normally use. For example, if we have a champion that's not where we don't need to take special care of, then we can also do that. And of course, we can also, the same as with the triggers, with Control E, we can say, let's click on a certain position. For example, now I have added an event where I would click at this position on the head of decay, for example, because I want to attack it. Alright, that's the basic principle how this works. I come to this reset later. Let's do an example here. For example, if Mikage has a turn, so the pixel value on the passive is the very same, then, for example, I might just want to do her auto thing, because why not? The same now for the other champions. In order that I don't always have to click on it, I can also lock the application. So if I click now on the Rachel Legends application, then the Autoclicker will still be on top. Now we have Patrick, and again, I could say auto is fine. I just maybe take the A1 as trigger element to determine if Patrick has the turn, because the passive is a bit unreliable. And From there on, just press Auto twice so that I can continue. Let's do this actually. And next one in the list is actually Fibble. Again, here I use the passive. And here also Auto is fine. The only one I really want to take care of is Nia actually at this point, because Nia has a wonderful reset ability that might not target the correct champion in this team, which is obviously Trunda to do the obscene amount of damage she can do. So now we have Nia ready, and here if Nia has a turn, so the passive point is actually here, and the A2 is ready, which is only the case if this pixel color is there, because otherwise if it is on cooldown it won't work. There's this overlay and the pixel color is different. Then I want to select the A2 and press click on a certain position, namely on Trunda. With that, I have configured that if Nia has a turn, A2 ready, select the A2 and use it on Trunda. Now, if this is not the case and Nia has her A2 not ready, then I want, of course, to continue the fight. So if the passive point is still there, then I can simply go on auto. What the auto clicker will now do, in this example, once I start it, it will, in every rotation of the code, it will go through all listeners from left to right, look at the trigger elements. Is this listener active? If yes, launch the events and pause until the next rotation is there. That's usually 200 milliseconds. And if not all triggers are active, it will go to the next listener and then the next and then so on. So in this example, if Nia has a turn, it will first check, is the A2 ready? If yes, use it. And if not, it will continue with a normal auto setup to continue. Alright, let's quickly configure the remaining champions. And then we can launch that. We have Lydia. Also here I use just auto with the passive as index whether she has a turn or not. And then there's Trunda. Also here I use just auto with the passive point. So now we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 champions configured, so everything we need. And we could launch this, and we need to click on the in-game application, and now we should see that everything should work fine. We click for most of those champions just auto twice so that they do their normal actions. But for Nia, if her A2 is ready, we will use it on Trunda to maximize our damage output without doing it manually every time. Just on a side note, the current team here is missing several pieces, so it won't work really great, but for the demonstration how the program works, it is probably fine. We can also minimize our auto clicker so that we can see better what's happening in game. Just to remember, click on the application after it so that we are in the correct window. So Nia should now get her turn soon, and she should also, I think, have her A2 ready now, and she uses it on Trunda as we wanted. Yeah, that's the basic concept of the autoclicker. We just do that what we would normally do on manual after very precise instructions. we can do that now on auto by using this tool. All right, let's extend it so that we can also, and let's pause it again because Tron is down and the fight is coming to an end pretty soon. What else can we do? Now we have this section. For example, if we would have another listener, we can of course remove it, but we could also increase the priority. Remember, the autoclicker works from left to right, so the first listener that will be checked, if it's viable, will be the leftmost. So we can increase the priority and put our listener more to the left, or we can also decrease the priority depending on our needs. What we also can do is we can configure a maximum usage. So if we, for example, only want to use a skill once and not again, then we can also say, okay, we have this maximum usage active and we set it to 1. So then we only perform this listener once and then never again. This is in particularly useful for certain other teams like the Wixwell team, where you have a manual setup in the beginning, which, for example, consists of low-key putting the perfect rail on Nia once on Wixwell, once on Amic. So we can also configure this and use it. And we have this cooldown, which puts, of course, the listener on cooldown so that we can cycle between different things or delay a certain skill. For example, we had a boss where we only want to use a skill that is normally on a 3-turn cooldown. On a 5-turn cooldown, we could also do that. Yeah. Now, with the maximum usage comes also a slight problem, because if we want to restart the whole program, we also need to reset the usage as well as the current cooldowns. And there is this arrow coming into play. With a click on this arrow, we will reset our current usage as well as the cooldowns of all listeners. The same can also be done with the event on the bottom here. So if we would add this, and we will later see this in another example, then we can also, as an event, reset the whole application. Yeah. Then we have a normal save button as well as an open button. There we can simply save the setup in a file and load it for later usage. This is pretty useful if you have something that you want to use every now and then. For example, a Hydra setup. Just a quick warning. Those images that help you understand where the trigger was put, those are not saved and loaded. It works still, because the only thing that will be saved and is needed is the position and the pixel value that was observed. And you don't need the image. This is just for the user to see it better. Yeah, but this just is a warning. And yeah, this button just minimizes the view. You can also resize it further if you want, just as you like. For the configuration, it's probably better if you just use the full version, but also this can be slightly decreased, increased as you want. Yeah, the lock button we already saw. If it's unlocked, then we can simply press and it vanishes. If it's locked, it will stay there regardless. If you need any help, you can also feel free to join the Discord server of mine so that we can discuss of the features and help you if you want, or if you want to support the project, you can also do that. Alright, let's jump quickly in another example to see how this autoclicker can be used. For this I go into the cursed city, which is from time to time really RNG heavy. So we remove all listeners because we don't need them now. And so let's minimize this. S19 is a pretty annoying stage where we really want to control both Taras, kill the Marishka, and then are fine to continue, because if we can't control those Taras, then those will counterattack, which is really dangerous for our DPS. Now what we want to do is I just move this to the side for now. Yeah, how do we move this? Yeah, let's move it here for now. Alright, so if the first one is Achak, that's going. Achak will simply use the A1. That's not really interesting at this point. Then we have Nazana. Nazana is important to place the stun. I probably need to move this now somewhere else. Yeah, that is enough. So Nazana, let's for simplicity use the A1. She is built with so here we just observe again the A3 and then use the A1, which is selected by default on a Taras. The A1 will attack all enemies and Nazana is in a stun set. So the purpose of this is that ideally both Taras are stunned afterwards. If this is okay, this is the case, we can continue and are happy. But if this is not the case, and let's do this, it wasn't, then we can now determine with Oathbound, the current champion. You don't need to name them all, it's just easier to follow it later. If Oathbound has the turn and the pixel value at this position where normally the debuff is shown is the same as currently, then we know that we didn't land the stun. We can use this to try to crowd control at this point, but we can also use it to restart the run now. So at if this, oh, sorry, I wanted to add a trigger there, not an event. So if Oathbound has his turn and the stun didn't land because the pixel value looks like it is, then we can press as a consequence the pause button, and this we can of course repeat with the other Taras. So if there is no stun either, then we can also as a consequence press the pause button, and this can now be continued. If the pause button is pressed, then we have this view where I just want to add another listener and battle where we just observe that this button is there and we press it. Now we have this confirmation window. It's definitely easier if you have two screens to configure this. Maybe I will improve this later. So now we observe that this button is visible and we press it. And after that, we can simply add another listener that observes that the replay button is there. So this button is visible and we can press on it. And now the fight will restart. So let's just activate this, minimize the view and run it. So Achak starts, Nazana puts the A1 out. If one stun is there, this is not enough. We want to crowd control both towers because they are pretty dangerous in this fight. And yeah, then the one will automatically restart until we eventually face the RNG that we actually want. Of course, we can do this, do a bit more. In this fight, for example, we could also try to crowd control with the Oathbound using the A3 and also the A3 of Nazana, but just for simplicity to see what else is possible with this tool, I will quickly let it run and probably cut to it when the situation occurs that we actually have successfully placed both stuns. Yeah. So there we go. Didn't take very long, and you can still see the Autoclicker itself is still running, but it's not doing anything because what we have configured is that if Oathbound is there and the stun didn't land, which is not active as we see, the pixel value is different because the stun is there. That's because all listeners are inactive and therefore no actions are actually performed at the moment. And this will stay this way, so now we could pause it and continue the fight and hopefully finish it also, but I won't do that here. But yeah, that's another possible usage of the program. I'm sure you can also find other useful scenarios where you can use it. But yeah, this pretty much completes the guide how to use the tools in there. I might do another full showcase with the next hydro rotation where I show this on a Wixwell team in all its glory. Until then, I just give you a quick warning. If you use it and it doesn't seem to work, you might try to start it as an administrator. This might resolve the issue. At least we had this once so far. Yeah. I think that's all I had to say. Thanks for watching. Feel free to join the Discord server and give feedback. And otherwise, see you.